Okay, welcome back to Women, Men, and Relationships. I'm JJ Flazanes.
And is that where I come in? I always forget that's the part where I'm supposed to come in. Because when I'm on with Strickland, he says, "Hi," and I'm Strickland Bonner, and on the other side of the microphone is Doug Sandler, and he says it. I don't have to say any of that.
I know I've given you responsibility.
Why have you given me responsibility?
I felt like it was time for you to grow.
I feel like I'm growing. I'm growing.
What did you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about something that is near and dear to all of our listening community that they probably, never really talk about it very much. And I think it's important to talk about it.
We're talking about pooping?
Well, no, we could talk about that, but I was going to talk about sex instead.
Oh, okay.
I thought this was a good subject.
Sure, yeah.
What I wanted to actually start on was this subject of sex, but then I wanted to ask you, what would you like to talk about when it comes to sex? Because when it comes to sex, men and women, husbands and wives, spouses, significant others, so rare that we talk about sex, isn't it?
Rare. Well, yes. I think that the reality is that most people don't talk about it to the person they need to talk to about it.
Yes.
But people do talk about it with other people.
Wow, why aren't we talking about it with the ones that are most knowledgeable with us about it? I mean, there is no one else that I'm having sex with other than you. Why wouldn't I want to talk to you about sex?
You and I are very similar in a lot of ways, which makes it easy for us to talk about sex. But as you and I have both experienced, other people who don't want to talk, period, don't want necessarily to focus on vulnerable things that bring up emotions that either make people feel defensive or sad or not good enough, uncomfortable, defeated, hopeless. So most people who get triggered by sex and talking about it and thinking about it and looking at themselves or what they contribute to their intimate relationships don't necessarily want to talk about where they think they might be failing or where they may not be good enough or where someone might not desire them or how they're not doing the best they can in that area. So I think, yes, a lot of people, quote unquote, should. I don't want to shame anybody, but we need to improve our sexual relationships, and it's not going to happen by ignoring it.
Oh, you definitely can't ignore it. But the question is, at what point do you have a professional step in and help you with the communication between you and your significant other? Do you try to start on your own? Do you not? It's like you have to have this area where you have some. Is this an area that doesn't have to have boundaries? I mean, is anything off limits, or is everything in fair play?
I think it just depends on the person. I mean, how personal do you want to get? I'm not talking about you and I, because you and I could get as personal as we want to get, but how personal in the past do you want to get? Because you have a couple different examples, and I have a couple different examples, but one was a marriage, and the others were just dating relationships. So there was less of a, for me, need to explore. If I don't have a commitment from somebody to a certain degree, I don't feel safe enough or haven't felt safe enough to bring up the conversation in a meaningful way and feeling like I had someone to explore with. So I've only really had one situation.
So then you need a commitment. So without the commitment, you feel like the conversation may be off limits.
Well, in the past, I'm in a different place now. Not that I want to be sleeping around, obviously, but our relationship and how you and I communicate is very similar. So the benefit to that is, while there's still a little triggering that happens here and there in certain places, it's greatly reduced in my life. And you don't get triggered by you want to talk about it.
I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it before, during, and after. I mean, maybe it's even a little bit, I'm hoping it's not nauseating. I'm hoping it's not like irritating for you. I like to know what I can do, what I can't do, what's on in bounds, out of bounds. And I don't even think I'm not freaky with it. And you know that. I mean, I'm a pretty conservative guy. It's not like I'm trying to do something that would be off limits or whatever that off limits would be. I don't even know. I'm not interested in anything off limits. I'm interested in everything in limits, I guess.
Well, I don't even know what you're talking about there in terms of what's considered on and off limits.
I don't know. I don't know. That's true. That's true. So part of that is the conversation is like, well, how far do you go into having a conversation with your significant other about what is allowed and what's not allowed as a part of the relationship? And sometimes, how do you know what is going to affect them emotionally until you bring it up?
Right. That is a hard thing to gauge because I assumed that commitments meant dedication to solving problems and did not, and I underestimated the power of the triggers and the traumas that get in the way of clear communication and people getting their needs met. I think for you and I, and for someone like you like to talk. And so do I. And there are a lot of people out there that are listening to the show who like to listen, but they don't necessarily like to talk. And there are people that don't know what to say and they don't know how they feel. And they're not in a place to articulate their feelings and needs without necessarily coming from a place of blame. And so sex gets to be a really taboo subject because it could very easily sound like I'm blaming you for something that's not happening for me, and then defenses come up.
So it can also be a matter of about feeling insignificant or not loved if your significant other doesn't either want to have sex as frequently as you do, because sometimes you'll get that feeling, one can get that feeling of rejection, and then that you start taking things personally. I can remember early on in many of the relationships that I had, not with ours, but relationships that I had, that I'm like, well, I wonder why she doesn't want to have sex with me. I wonder, how do I know, what the signs are, what the signals are, and then not having an understanding with my partner about what the signals are, and then misreading the signals. Oh, I thought that was a signal that you wanted to have sex with me. Apparently, it was not. And then you get wow, I was just rejected, and then you get to the point where you feel, I'm not only misreading the signs, but I'm not communicating. And then is it because when we do have sex, I'm not good enough? So a lot of that, all of that shit that goes on in your head and it plays with your head when you're not in an intimate moment, when you're just sitting down at the dinner table and something that reminds you of that rejection from sex happens at the dinner table. And you're like, well, maybe I'm not good enough in this part of my life either. And it all festers and plays on itself. And it's horrible. It's horrible when you can't communicate with your spouse, your significant other. It really plays really bad tricks on your brain. And if you don't have a healthy self-esteem, or if you are put yourself in a position where the feelings of your significant other determine your feelings, it's really bad then.
Well, and that's the tricky part about having a conversation about sex, is because there's two people involved. So unless you are doing some really good work on yourself to be able to come at it from a place of I, and never say you, and because of you, and because you do this, and which is hard to do in a sexual conversation, because the other person's immediately going to get triggered. Doesn't matter if it's a guy or a girl. Everyone's going to feel less than or vulnerable because this is a huge part of life. And I think that, based on experience, that it's really important for people to do enough work on yourself that you can understand when it's about the other person and when it's not about you, so that you don't take it personally.
Okay, so what's your advice? We have plenty of people that are in our community that either have relationships that are sexless, or limited sex, or not satisfying sex. Where do you start? I mean, I know what you just said is you have to make sure that you're working on yourself, but that is only part of the solution. How does this communicate? Where do you start?
Well, if you're a couple that has had good sex, and sex is a way that you have sort of made your union in the beginning, like there was chemistry and there was sexual pleasure happening on both sides and everyone felt really good about it. Sex is a great healing tool because it doesn't require you to have to explain yourself or to talk. And sometimes we hold resentments with each other about things and we withhold sex and love from people as punishment. And if you've had good sex with your partner before and you can recognize when you're punishing them by withholding sex.
That's horrible, by the way. It's the worst thing that you could possibly do is withhold sex as a punishment.
Okay, but
It's
people
it's
withhold love all the time as punishment from family members, from kids, from spouses, from friends. It's such a common thing. Have you not been aware of someone doing it to you? Or I don't know that I think.
No, I haven't. I've never been aware of someone withholding sex as a punishment. Just like I've never been aware of someone withholding love as a punishment.
I can think of some people in your life that are withholding love from you right now as punishment. Obviously, you are not aware of it.
No, who is withholding love from me? It's
There's
okay.
certain family members.
Would this be sisters or brothers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
God, fuck them.
What?
Why would they do that to me? What have I done to them?
Well, it's not about.
I've lived my life. That's all I want to do.
I know. Okay. Whoa on the trigger there.
I'm
Okay.
just living my life. I am totally okay with me.
Of course, right. But they have judgments and opinions, and so they think that they're making a difference by punishing you in some way. And so when it comes to, okay, so the question was, what was the advice? In my opinion, again, back to if you're a couple that has good sexual chemistry, notice when you're holding back to punish the other person. Number one. Number two, if you're a couple that's had good sex, but you're not punishing, but you're feeling insecure, notice and be conscious of when you're the one having insecurities so that you can talk to your spouse about it and ask if they feel like maybe it's about your body or maybe it's about your performance or maybe it's about your job. Maybe, especially for men, when you guys you're not making money or you've been fired or you quit your job or something's going wrong.
Hold on. You say especially men, but then there's this self-image that women have. I can tell you that relationships that I've had where because my significant other has felt bad about their body type or what's going on with their body, that they haven't withheld sex because of me. They've actually withheld sex because of them.
Right. No, I'm not saying, yes, for women, it's more about body image, but for men, it's more about self-esteem. There are a lot when men aren't working or they're not doing well, they're feeling bad in their life somehow.
I'll tell you, you want to give me the best attitude adjustment when I have bad self-esteem? Fuck me. I'm telling you, it's the best thing ever. It's like instant, oh my God, I'm a fucking rock star. That's the way I feel about it. It's like, for me, that's why sometimes I don't understand when. And again, I'll go back to previous relationships when there was a portion of not a portion when sex was withheld because of some feeling of issues with their bodies. And I'm like, oh my God, can I make you feel great about your body? Can we just get into it? I don't even give a shit. You do. You need to stop. And it's like, I don't. Whatever. I can't tell my partner how to feel about themselves. They have to feel good about themselves. I can't tell them how to feel good about themselves. But man, when I'm in a bad self-image, fuck me. I promise you, I will feel much better about myself.
Okay, absolutely. However, what energy are you giving off? Is it attractive to your partner when you're feeling bad about yourself?
No, you're not giving off good energy.
Right.
You're not.
All right. So. Again, so in terms of, sexual conversations.
But don't you have to get, sorry, and I don't mean to cut you off here, but let me just go back to that for 1 second. Just as you say, you have to work on yourselves with communication and you have to work on yourself when it comes to just your feelings to yourself. Why isn't it the same way with body image?
I didn't say it wasn't.
Okay, so why can't one put themselves in a position where they just say, you know what? He loves me. He appreciates me. I feel better about myself. because of that. If you put yourself at a higher vibration, wouldn't that change how you see yourself?
Yes.
So why can't women, just like why can't men, when it comes to self-image, for some reason, when it comes to stuff like self-esteem, it's like, shit, get me in a position. I can completely roll over that. Why can't women?
Because not all women, and not all men either, because men have it too, have emotional intelligence in that way and resilience. And again, this is like the major problem. I was looking at, I'm going to divert for half a second.
Sure, go
here.
ahead. I'm just, and we're just shooting the shit here talking about it. So,
well, it's the idea of, I think I saw on Facebook, somebody posted a image of what was going on right now. And I know nothing, by the way, everyone, I am so not political, but that, I like what I hear on the news, like through Twitter or Facebook, that's really where I get my news, very purposely and whatever. So I was seeing an image about comparing what was going on now to what was going on, let's say, in the 80s or late 70s maybe, and how it's really the same conversation. And
we're talking about Kavanaugh and Clarence Thomas?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Got it.
And also, when I was back in Nashville for my ex-brother-in-law's, I think it was his wedding, we had gone around to different places, and there was like a plantation. Maybe one of Andrew Jackson's plantation we visited, and there was a war memorial, and the question on the wall was, has the War of 1812 been won, and are we still living it? And it all, for any of you buffs out there on history, I believe that history is very useful. What I believe is missing from our history is actually the root cause of why we do anything that we do. So people want to say you need to learn history so you don't repeat the patterns. Let me clue you in. You're repeating the patterns. Every single one of us repeat our patterns because we never actually solve the emotional root to why we react and behave in the way that we do. So when we keep these ideas alive without going a little bit deeper than what we do, we end up repeating the pattern. So let's bring that back into men and women in conversation about sex. So there are so many layers to sex, from self-image to performance to compatibility to knowing what it is that you want and who's responsible for it. And that's very intimate. And sometimes people aren't even clear of the different layers and levels to be able to even have the conversation. All they know is it feels good, or you're doing a good job, or you're not. And for the most part, if a woman feels like she's not being satisfied because, let's say, her head gets in the way and she's thinking too much and she doesn't know how to communicate to her partner, and whether it be a man or a woman, because it doesn't matter, so gay relationships are no different. And then all of a sudden there's this tension that builds, and then there's this, you distance yourself from your partner and you pretend. That's why fake orgasms come into play, because it's a lot easier to fake an orgasm and let your partner think you're doing a good job than it is to have the conversation, because then a lot of men get shut down, and a lot of people who are doing more of the actively trying to help the other person and contribute get shut down when they think all their efforts are going to nothing. So there's pressure on both sides. It's not like there's not one person's pressure, one person doesn't. For everyone's got pressure to some degree. And so that's why it's such a hot button of people don't talk about it. And I think it's a very healthy thing to start to talk about. But I believe that if two people in a relationship could come to terms with, they bring their own baggage into their sexual expression, and that it's not your partner who is triggering you, it's some of your own wounds, then you can start to have, like you and I have had great conversations, I think, about sex. And it's been refreshing and it's been helpful. It doesn't mean that everything is wonderful and great all the time or every time, but I think how we think about sex is different, and how, it's like the imago therapy we did at the event. You could go back and have sex therapy and think about when was your first sexual experience, even before sex, and go back to your relationship to your body, your relationship to sex in the world when it comes to religion. How many people are just repressed about sex in general?
Yeah, a lot, because they're told it's a sin.
Yeah. It's a sin. I mean, there are certain religions that believe that it's dirty and that women should be ashamed of their bodies, and sexual power is not given to women or supported in women. And this is not a rant about women, because it's the same thing for men too. And in different parts of religions and belief systems and families. So, there's so much attached to sex. And there's even that spiritual part of, if it's religious based, then someone could feel like they're committing a sin every time. If their family has taught them that sex is bad, then they don't, like, having pleasure in sex might be even worse. So
what a bad thing. What a horrible thing. What a bad way to be raised. But a lot of people were raised that way. I know for a fact a lot of people were raised that way. And sexual repression is really, it's very real, but it's so harmful. It's so harmful. It's the best feeling of personal expression that I can think of.
So you walked in here and you had the idea to talk about sex. Was there something that specifically that you thought of that made you want to have this conversation tonight?
I like having sex with you.
Okay.
I do very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yes.
I enjoy you as well.
More than I've ever had in my entire life. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's wonderful news for everyone listening. Because I already knew that.
All right.
Right. Okay. Well, it is a hot topic, and you asked the question in the beginning, what to do about it, and I haven't published the show yet. You've already interviewed Dr. Jane Gwynn. I had a conversation with her that will air sometime on this podcast, and we'll have her on too together. And we talked about, in the case of, because you and I have really good sexual compatibility, when you don't have sexual compatibility with someone that you love, or someone that you're married to, or someone that you really just, you love them and you want to be with them, but there are things that get in the way. Where do you start? And I said, is there hope for somebody or for a couple that doesn't have awesome sexual compatibility right away?
What was her answer?
Her answer was yes. Her answer was to start with the basics, to start with kissing. And
by the way, you're a good kisser.
Thanks, baby. So are you. But you start with kissing, and not even, I'd say, start with tantra. Tantra is not tantric sex, but tantra, a practice of tantra, finding a class or something you could do with somebody, which is about just sensuality in life. It doesn't even have to do with sex. You're not even necessarily touching each other. You might be, but your clothes are on, and it's about really being present in the moment. In fact, I remember in Ojai with a couple of friends, we went to this like yoga retreat all day long Ojai thing, and there were only really 2 sessions that they wanted to go to, and one of them was with a tantra teacher, and she had us take apart a rose, and we were feeling the rose petal, and we were feeling the rose petal for like 20 minutes, and you were feeling the rose petal on your skin and on your face, and you were feeling what it felt like on different parts of your body. It was just the sensuality of being present with something, and that in itself gets you centered into your body. So back to Dr. Jane's response, starting with kissing, starting with tenderness, starting with, for me, tantra in a way of just touching each other, but not in an aggressive, I want to have sex with you in 5 minutes kind of way. And that's a whole nother topic.
I think it's interesting because I think that some of our best sexual experiences have happened when we've spent an afternoon like hanging out together, or even not being together, but through text messaging, just sharing just little I love yous, maybe just messages, just something that says, hey, you're in my life and I'm turned on by you. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that when you can get your brain around sex, I think that oftentimes your head is the thing that gets in the way. Not you personally, but I think one's head gets in the way.
Oh no, my head gets in the way. But
okay,
yes,
good.
But in general, yeah, absolutely. But I also from experience believe that, going back to the 5 love languages, we also each have ways in which we prefer information be delivered. And I am auditory. And when you and I were not living together and we were apart more than we were together, one of the best things that was a huge turn on was how much we were text messaging, sort of sexting. Mm-hmm. And that And you know what's funny? We don't do that anymore. It's because now you live here, and I miss it, and we should do it again.
Yeah,
okay.
I love this idea.
Well,
this is a great plan.
It's a good plan because it's the anticipation, it's the flirting,
Yeah.
and too often in relationships there are, this is why I dated Latin men for a while, because they get the sexual, sensual, long journey of the flirt and of the seduction, and there are a lot of men who get turned on and forget, guys, you're blowtorches, we're ovens, and while you're hot and ready to go, we have to be turned on, and we have to go from a preheat to the heat, and so it's not going to be instant. And just because you feel like having sex, this red hot moment, we may do it, but most of us may not have any interest, and therefore we're not going to actually really be authentically turned on and not prepared. And maybe some women can get ready and prepared. Maybe it's super quick. Maybe they know their body so well and they're so used to having to turn it on really quickly. But that's where everyone's different. And the intimacy of knowing your partner is where I think the beauty of someone's sexual relationship is born.
I think I just got a whole bunch of clues just there. I think there was a lot of information that just came my way. I think I've been fucking up.
No. No.
It's okay.
No, baby.
No, I'm down for the challenge.
Okay. No. This is years of different partners and experiences. This is not about you.
I got to get to my phone. I got some text messages.
Mine is the text messages that I do miss about the flirtiness. That I do miss, and that's really good, and that helps. But we're not having an issue, so currently, so we're good. But we can talk about.
Wait a minute, why you put currently in there? Why you throw that word in there?
Because.
Well, you're like future. We will have issues.
No, I don't think we will. But I think like any normal couple, you have
ebbs and flows.
It ebbs and flows, and as life changes, and as you're together longer, and patterns set in, and that kind of stuff. So, but the most important part is that we like to talk. We want to address things. We can have good, healthy dialogue, and lots of people can't.
Okay, so you have a couple of resource guides that I know that you have used. You actually marked up a couple of these books way. You got these little Post-it notes. Do you know the names of the books, or can you find them up on the shelf? They're right up there. I don't know where they are, but one is like, I don't know. She's found them. She's looking on the shelves. The most amazing thing is the first couple of times I came here, I stayed over, and you handed me the books, and you're like, here. And I'm like, the pages are all dog-eared. There's like a whole bunch of Post-it notes. The kind where it says sign here. There's a whole bunch of them.
Sign here. That's a lot of signatures in this book.
That is a lot of signatures.
Okay, so David Shade wrote a book called The Secrets of Female Sexuality. And it's a book for men. It's an unapologetic, brutally honest truth about sex that women secretly wish you knew but can't tell you.
Okay, can we not put that back up on the shelf? Can we just leave that at my nightstand? Because as many times as I've looked at each of the pages, I forget. I forget what I'm supposed to do. Damn it, I was following my script and I forgot the lines. What was the other one? Here's another one. This one is called The Sacred Sexual Bliss, a technology for ecstasy. And this was by
Satker Khalsa?
Satker Khalsa, yes.
Yeah, she's actually a PhD that I met with one time and had a session with her back when I was, like a long time ago, single. But her book is super cool about the different kinds of sex, actually. And
I didn't see that third book. What was that third book?
Well, I just pulled it out because there's actually more than just this one. Okay, so that's the second book.
Okay, there's only one book at a time.
Okay.
One book at a time.
Okay, so the third, then there's the series from David Data. And David Data has got, I don't even have it on the shelf because it's, oh yes I do, Enlightened Sex. Hold on.
Oh boy. It's amazing. She's got a whole, what's so great about what JJ does is she pours her heart and soul into each subject that she likes to work with. And, she's real. She's dog-eared the pages. She's written notes in the book. She's just handing it to me saying, here, you want to fuck me good? Here's what you need to do. Just read this book. And it is, It is really good. It's good to know that someone can be that open. Can you imagine being that open with your partner? Well, you don't have to be that open. All you need to do is get these books and just leave them strategically around your house.
Well, the 5 love languages is a great place for people to like at least make connection.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
That's true.
the other issue is that if you're not connected to your partner, you don't feel safe, you don't feel heard, you don't feel seen, you don't feel loved. Like the love language they use on you, if it's not yours and you don't receive it, then it makes sex that much more challenging, and sex, I think, that much more disconnected. For a lot of people, especially women, we want sex to be connected to emotion. And if I don't have an emotional connection with you and it's just sex, like with a long-term partner, I mean, sex for sex sake is fun when you're dating or dating multiple people or.
That's never. I haven't been dating anybody since I
We
was
know you've never
23,
dated.
So what the hell do I know?
You're a serial
I'm an
monogamous.
albatross.
Right. Okay, so this is a great CD set. It's called Enlightened Sex, Finding Freedom and Fullness Through Sexual Union. And it's been a long time since I listened to
Yeah,
these.
this is like its own 8-track. What is that?
It's 6.
Reel to reel, baby.
It's 6 CDs.
Wow.
And this would be fun to listen to together.
Okay.
Let's leave that out.
All right.
Okay.
What's it all about?
Enlightened Sex?
Yeah.
I forget. It's been a long time since but I know I loved it, and I had it in the car, and I listened to it in the car. Here, let me read a little bit about it. It's David Data, and I have a bunch of David Data's information and books and stuff. But this says Enlightened Sex Highlights: How to Choose and Support the Right Partner for Deepening the Spiritual Practice of Sex. Love's 3 threads: romance, oneness, and sexual polarity, the key to physical attraction. Oh, that's really important. Polarity. We need to talk about that on another show. I'm going to put this down because it's going to make me think of 10 more things to talk about.
Okay.
All right. The next 2 books and the last 2 things I'm going to suggest are also from David Data. The first one is actually, I think I handed this book to you. It's called The Way of the Superior Man. And what I love about The Way of the Superior Man is I read it, and I think women should read it too, because it gives you a little bit of insight into men and sort of that masculine presence that sometimes women feel threatened by. And that's where emasculation happens. That's where women want to control men and put them down and shame them because they're afraid of them, and they're afraid of their power, especially when they don't feel safe or like their power was there to protect them. And so, it's a really unfortunate situation, the discord between men and women. And I'm going to say, for a lot of men, while, men are somewhat responsible for a lot of it, women, really, you raised your boys. Women show men how to treat women. Women put up with and have done those patterns for a long time. And when a mother shames the son, when a mother controls and emasculates a son, that does not help a man become a man and feel powerful in a protective way. It makes him feel angry and not seen and want to rebel. And so women who are listening to this, if you have sons, how you are with yourself and how you are with your husband and how you are with your sons is super important. I have to say, like, the mom is probably more important for the son than the mom is for the daughter, because the mom establishes the relationship and that confidence level in the son. And so there's a lot of responsibility there for not shaming and not emasculating. So ladies and men, The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. And on the flip side, that's the masculine book. The feminine book is called Dear Lover. And this is a woman's guide to men, sex, and love's deepest bliss.
Wow.
It's a very sensual book, and it's mostly about practices and opening up and becoming more feminine and reminding ourselves in this culture, which I think is more and more challenging but more and more needed, that women have to remember you can still be a strong, powerful woman and be feminine and sensual.
I'm ready to be more feminine.
Please don't be more feminine, sweetheart. The world needs your masculine.
I bring it. I can bring it. Listen, I got on my Harley yesterday and I rode up the coast. I was loving it. Okay, I'm now ready to bring my woman back.
You're so metro, and I love that about you. And you are very balanced in that way. And I do appreciate you love the circles and you want to get the tissues out, and I do appreciate that very much. But there's a balance that I think men are coming more into, wanting to be both, but still have your balls, still have your spine. It's not about giving away your power. It's about standing in an emotional power and having heart, and still being a man in all ways, that whatever that means to you, but doing it with heart, doing it with integrity, doing it with passion and purpose, and not about force, and not about overpowering, and not about money and control, but about contribution.
And that's a wrap.
Really?
I was being masculine. I was asserting my masculinity.
You'd like the show to be over now?
No, I don't care.
You don't care?
No, I really don't. I thought we were going to have sex now.
Again today. Okay.
That's true. I forgot it.
Although we're down from the original, but so back to the books. David Deida is definitely someone to check out for some resources. And David Shade's book about female sexuality is a great one for men and a great one for women, because it gives you permission to understand your sexual nature. And I think it's that sort of Madonna whore situation where men want their women to be respectful in life, but then, a crazy woman in the bedroom, and women go back and forth with feeling, powerful and feminine and sexual in different places.
Or as Usher would say, a lady on the streets, but a freak in bed.
Right. Go Usher.
Go Usher.
Yeah. So, sex is that's a big, big topic. And, I haven't yet addressed it at an event, and I would like to. I think that we need to bring in some Tantra. I'm thinking maybe next September or October's event might be a couples event.
Oh, this is a great plan.
We'll see.
Even more reason for me to be there.
Well, yeah. I want you to be there anyway. So we need to probably schedule it around your schedule. But anyway, so what else about sex, honey?
I think we got it.
Okay.
Well, we got the reference guides. That's good.
And Dr. Jane will be on the show, but you can look up Dr. Jane Guyn, Guyn, and she helps people with this. So in the meantime, before I publish her show, and she's been on The Nice Guys, so you can go find her episode on The Nice Guys on Business. I have not published her show yet on any of my channels, but if you need some personal help right away, I definitely recommend her.
She's amazing.
I don't know that I could help, but I might be able to. I've got lots of good information that I can share, and probably some tricks and tools that I could figure out.
Oh, you have tools?
I have
Power tools.
I have some toys and some tools, and I'm looking at other books like Intimate Conversations. Anyway,
oh come on, you've given him so many books.
I know.
You've given him 5 books already.
And Keys to the Kingdom. Oh my God, there's so many. Anyway, okay, we were talking about sex. Those are not all about sex, they're but mostly about relationships. But if you are someone who's struggling with having a conversation about sex with your partner, and you're looking for some immediate ways to communicate, if you haven't listened to my 3 Steps to Effective Communication, episode 118 on the Fit to Love podcast show, it might be a place to start, because being able to approach your partner and not blame them and be able to say, I'm feeling this way and I have these needs, and I would really love to experience more sexual intimacy, sexual expression, sexual freedom, sexual connection. Would you be willing to help me with that? And then I don't know anyone's partner who would say no. I mean, if you're both in your relationship equally and you want to be in the relationship, it just needs to be put in a way that someone doesn't get defensive.
And if you would like to have a future conversation with JJ about that, she will be happy to coach you through it. So she'll put a link in the show notes how to get in touch with her schedule.
Oh, I don't do show notes, babe.
Oh, no show notes?
I don't do show notes.
Oh,
no.
boy.
Go to jjflazanes.com. You can find information there.
Just get to the
Or-
contact me page, because
or-
I'll tell you something. I've heard her talk on the phone with clients, and she is fucking awesome. She really is. She understands. She gets it. She gets all in your business and helps you get through to the matter, and that is the truth. And I love her, and she is amazing.
Oh, thank you, honey. Thanks, baby. So, thanks for the topic today. Hopefully,
Well, you know, the go-to topic in my head is always sex.
okay.
So if the next time you ask me, what do you want to talk about today? The answer is probably going to be sex.
Well, I think, let's do this. This will be fun.
Okay, I'm ready.
Why don't we
Mm-hmm.
decide that we have some homework?
Oh, good. Homework.
Why don't you and I start listening to Enlightened Sex?
Let me get the batteries.
And and then we can report back on the show.
I think this is a great plan. Do we have a CD player?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
Well, listen, you have a Walkman?
I do.
Wow. Oh,
I
wow.
do. It's
Okay.
actually it's
Yeah, I think
how
I remember
listen to-
seeing it somewhere
I
in that
listen to
pile.
yeah. I've recently used it to listen to the CDs
That's
from the
true.
Medical Intuitive.
Very good. Yeah.
But we could also upload them as MP3s into the computer and then, whatever.
Okay.
All right. So we are going to get back. This topic is going to come back. I don't know when. I can't make any promises because life is freaking busy. But we're going to start listening to Enlightened Sex, Finding Freedom and Fullness Through Sexual Union by David Data, and report back right here. If you have any questions in the meantime that you want us to address on a future show together, we'd love to hear it. Send me an email. info@invisiblefitness.com, or as all of you have been emailing me either through Facebook or Instagram, you know how to find me, jjflazanes.com.
You have a fan club.
I do.
It's really fun. Nobody ever reaches out to me.
Yes, they do. They call your show, 4242 DJ Doug.
Oh yeah, if you have a specific question that you would like to ask me, that you would like me and JJ to answer on the show, that's right. You can always dial 4242 DJ Doug. Just leave me a message, and we will answer the question on the show.
And we might play the voicemail too, but just
Ooh,
make
yeah.
sure
Yeah.
you let us know that you're calling about women, men, and relationships and
Not
not
the
nice guys on
business.
or your question will end up on the nice guys. And Strickland and Doug will try to answer it, and they will fail miserably, and it'll be funny repartee, making jokes and laughing, and you'll never get any answers. So just make sure you let us know which show you're
That's
calling
great.
about.
Yeah, just say, hey, this call is for Doug and JJ for women, men, and relationships. Make it happen. All right.
4242 DJ Doug.
That's funny.
All right, everyone.
See ya.